Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening. It is January 16th, and you have reached Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Rhonda Lawson, is still at work, so she will be joining us later on in the show. I'm not sure exactly what segment she'll be on, but she's on her way. She just isn't here yet. So I wanted to welcome you all to the show, to tonight's show. We have another amazing lineup like we always do. And I also wanted to remind you all, those who want to attend, now that's my fault. I forgot to mute my phone. So I apologize for that. But to those who are planning to register for the National Black Book Festival, the registration is open, and I encourage you to sign up as early as possible to avoid us being sold out, which occurs with our event every year. But last year we sold out really early, and I expect something similar this year. So our first guest was logged on, and then she logged off. So I don't know if she is changing her device or what, but we had her logged on. There she is. I guess she changed her device. So the other thing I wanted to remind you all about is there are pictures of last year's festival on the National Black Book Festival's Facebook and Instagram pages. So if you want to see those photos, please log on to our pages, and you'll see we have hundreds of photos that we took at the event. And finally, those of you who are children's authors, the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards process has already begun. You can submit your book starting now and all the way to June. I think June 3rd is the deadline. And you go to Black Authors Matter Book Awards.com to get all the information and to submit your book. And you could be a finalist or even a winner. So we want to make sure you all know about those announcements. So we are going to be giving away one book tonight, and we'll talk about that later on. But first, we want to welcome to the show children's author Priscilla Harris, and she has a book series to empower children and to give them positive affirmations, to give them an uplifting message in these times of negativity. So Priscilla, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And make sure you unmute your mic so we can hear you. There you go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's just a privilege. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Well, welcome to the show. And my co-host, Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us later today. She was delayed at work, and so she will be on. And I don't know if you are connected with her online or know about her, but she's been in the literary space for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. And so we started co-hosting the show from day one. So it has been great. And you are a children's author, and your books are fairly recent, but you also have another profession that you do other than an author. You're an educator.
Correct. That's correct.
And also a mentor.
I'm a self-love coach. So yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to do my just introduction?
Yes.
Great. So yes, my name is Priscilla Harris, and I am a children's book author. and a self-love coach. I teach children that what they say about themselves in the mirror matters the most. And I champion and support the incredible individuals who are involved in raising children and shaping the lives of the next generation.
Well, there is a song, I believe our children are our future, and that is so true.
Yep.
So, in this environment that we're in now, with so many distractions and so many messages that children are being bombarded with,
Mm-hmm.
how do you break through some of that and make the positive affirmations stick? How do
And
you,
that
how you take root?
and that's a great question. And I often say that, there's so much noise around us, so
Yes.
much noise. And it's like, who do you listen to? Well, the first thing that in my books, I say who I can. It promotes them listening to their voice first. But here's the thing, what if they don't know that they have a voice? I think that sometimes we just assume children, as they are being raised, automatically have a self love and a self positive talk for themselves. But let's be realistic. In my own life, because I can't talk about anyone else, but in my own life, there are several times in my journey in this life that I talk negative to myself because I really didn't know who I was. And self-love is different from self-esteem.
Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, so self-esteem is I feel like I have a skill and I feel proud that I could do that skill. I could showcase it. Self-esteem is that, I just spread my chest open and say, hey, I got this, so I have confidence. I have a skill and I feel sure about something that I'm doing. Self-love is an internal work. It's a work that kind of goes together with emotional intelligence. It's a understanding that I can manage my own emotions and foster a deeper self-awareness that essentially will cultivate the self-love for myself, that even in challenging times I know that I'm still an awesome person inside. I know that uh, what I may not succeed at, or something that a flaw I might have, or something I may not be able to get like other people get, it doesn't dictate that I'm a great person, that I have a greatness DNA, and it will always remain there, regardless of challenges that might come a person's way. So, researchers studied it, and they saw that those that had a high emotional intelligence were well capable and more compassionate to understand that even though things don't succeed, like all of us have dreams and we want things to go our way, we want them to, to be the best that we can give it, and sometimes they don't, that it doesn't destroy us internally.
Okay,
So
so you
self-esteem is more an outside thing, confidence, whereas self-love is an inside, internal confidence.
okay, well, so are you saying self-love precedes self-esteem, or
I do. I
okay, so
from my perspective, yes.
okay, so in teaching children, well, the first teachers children have are their parents
Yes.
or their guardians. So
Yes.
that's who starts out teaching them who they are, be it from a genealogical standpoint or from a self-worth standpoint, and what you should aim for. How you should dream, or not limiting yourself, and
Yes.
not just actually not seeing where you are as the end of it, end all be all, that there's more you can stretch and do. And normally those messages, or the lack thereof, the positive or the negative, they start with parents or guardians or who are at home. It starts at home.
The caretakers, correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So once, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's why I support and I support those that have agreed to take the responsibility, whether you're a parent by birth or a foster parent or an aunt, an uncle that have desire to influence and impact the young people. So I support them in that. And you know how they used to say when people become parents that there was no book to tell me how to do it. I didn't go to school to do it. I didn't have any way to learn. I just trial and error. So in today's society, that's really not the case because you have so much that people have put out to kind of cultivate and assist the caregivers in various ways that they can use those resources to help them better mentor, coach, and raise the next generation because it's needed. We have to get back to the basics. That's basically what I'm trying to say. We got a lot of technology that's going on that's really great. It's all outstanding and it does a lot of stuff for us, but there's nothing like that human touch, that human alignment, that human impact. Because children, you could tell them all day, don't go touch the stove. But if they see you touching it, they're going to be like, well, you do it. So we want to model also as the caregivers what we want the children to ultimately have for a lifetime.
Now, one could argue that there's so many messages today and so much information today that people are confused.
Mm-hmm.
I see people posting questions, scenarios, anecdotal question of the day. If your child does this, how should you respond? Mm-hmm. And in generations past, mm-hmm. the answers were based on their environment, the adults in their environment that they grew mm-hmm. up in. But now you have a lot of so-called experts and people who claim to know about raising children who a lot of times they've never raised any children, or their relationship with their own children is strained. I'll put it mm-hmm. like that.
Yeah, that's the politically correct way. It's strained a little bit.
So to me, parents are in a position where they are more confused.
Yes.
Because things used to be simple. Now they're not.
Right. Because
there basically used to be one answer to these questions, or maybe two. Now there are 15 answers. And so which one do they choose? And so that becomes a challenge. And then a lot of parents don't have good self-esteem or self-love.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's hard to give what you don't have. It's hard to transfer to your child what you don't have. Well, there's one example, just a quick example. Well, my generation, and I won't say how old I am, but we were told we could do whatever we wanted to do. And this was in the face of, I would argue, more racism than we have today. I mean, more obstacles. But we were never told that racism could stop us from doing anything. That if we set our minds to it, we could do whatever we wanted to work for, we could have. And that doesn't seem to be the message now.
Well,
it doesn't seem to be a universal message like it was for us. And now it seems like people are telling them they can't do stuff because of this, this, and this, and this. And everybody needs a safe space, and they need so many things that to me it creates confusion. But
okay,
but you're in the education field, so you give me some insights into how is that message of hope or self-esteem or self-love, how is it being transferred today?
That's a great question. And I want to simplify because we can make it complicated or we can intentionally make it simple. The bottom line is that as a caregiver, parents, grandparents, whoever is guiding their children, I say be open minded to different ways of how we were taught. When I was growing up, it was more about providing. It wasn't a lot of emotional nurturing because the focus was we need to work, we need to pay bills, we need to keep a roof over the house, we need to keep food, we need to clothes. Now, my dad was strict on education because from his mindset, um, the focus was get an education so that you can do better. You know, he only went up to the he only went to the 6th grade, and so education was key for him. And so I have 9 siblings, and all 9 of us graduated from high school, and more than half of us have college degrees and RNs, and doing very well. And even the ones that may not have gone to college, they've done well in life because my father he demonstrated hard work and the importance of it. And so what I'm trying to allude to is that we can simplify it by making sure that as caregivers, are we intentional on building the self-love, the confidence, the structure in the young people's lives that we have agreed to impact, influence? And so regardless of all the noise around, if we instill in them from an early age, know who you are from the inside out, check with your child. What do you say to yourself when you're by yourself? Like I know that I know me, I've heard plenty of times, and you might agree, where when someone make a mistake, they be like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I'm so stupid. Why would they call themselves stupid by making a mistake? Because they haven't been taught. Self-love and self-positive talk, you have to teach it. It has to be a part of the conversation in the nurturing and the
Okay, we have a, a freeze, and I'm hoping it will correct itself, or otherwise Priscilla will need to log back in. It happens when it's live, anything can happen. And normally, if it's this long, normally they have to log back in. So while she is logging back in or correcting that, because I don't even know if she realizes it's frozen. That happens too sometimes. Um, but I wanted to look at the comments that we have so far tonight. And let's see, Janelle Lohman, she has said people are often searching for answers to their questions and are getting those answers from incorrect sources. And that is so true because your information is only as good as the source that you utilize. And if you get your information from a source that's not credible, or just a source that's not going where you want to go, sometimes the source may just be going on a different path than the one you want to go on. So it's good to get hints and suggestions and any advice or a demonstration. A lot of times it's just better to see somebody doing something than to talk to them or have them talk to you. Sometimes it's at a distance. You just see people and how they conduct themselves in their lives. So that's very important. So let's see if we have any more statements. We don't. I am going to try to text Priscilla while we're because when it's live, anything can happen. I'm going to try to text her to let her know that she froze on the screen and she needs to call us back. So let's see. I have her number here. Hopefully this is a cell phone number. And we're going to. And thank you all for your patience when you do a live show. it is anything can take place. And I think she's back. I think.
Hi. So
Hi, okay. I was getting ready to text you because you froze on the screen. And so I don't know if you knew you had froze. You just like froze.
I saw you froze and I kept talking because I didn't know if I was still being recorded with the audience. So I saw
Oh,
you
okay.
froze. Yeah. So I thought you froze. I was waiting to see if you were going to come back.
Oh, okay. Well, on my screen, you were frozen. And so as
Okay.
since the show emanates from my end, I think it keeps going because I'm looking at it on my phone. I log into my phone to look at it live. And then so I can check the questions. And on the live on my phone, it has you frozen. But anyway, welcome back.
Glad.
And you were saying you were talking about um the way people get messages, or the way if you say that, I did something, I'm stupid.
Right. So I know you've heard people say that.
Yes. Hmm.
And I cringe when I hear that because making a mistake doesn't make you stupid. And although they people say those types of negative talk to themselves, in their mind harmless, there's power in words.
Hmm.
Words are so powerful. They really are. And you and I and everyone else, where we are in life is because of words that either we spoke or someone spoke over us or someone spoke to us. It really shapes our lives. And so I Say Who I Am really focuses on making sure that we cultivate positive talk, positive talk first for ourselves, and then that spills over to, how you speak to others. It makes a difference.
Okay. So what about when you engage in self-reflection? Sometimes if you make a mistake and you you can say that what you did was stupid without saying that you're stupid. Do you understand what I mean?
Of course. And there is a difference.
Sometimes it's self-reflection. You can say to yourself, "Yeah, I should have known better than to do that, and I won't do it the next time."
Well,
So,
I'm not talking about someone saying that I did a stupid thing. I'm saying when they say I'm so stupid.
okay,
When
okay,
they attribute that to themselves and they say it often. I've been around people that have done that. Or, oh, I can't do anything right. Like, why would you say that about yourself? And you say that because there's something deep down in you that haven't been tapped back into, because we all are born with confidence, curiosity. We're filled with all of the goodness and some buffoonery or some mischief in there too. Because you don't
well,
have to.
we all have free will.
Yes. So you don't have to teach a child to not do wrong. They just instinctively, okay, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So
To teach them to do right, because they'll figure wrong out on their own.
yes. But if you cultivate from a beginning point, and that's what I was saying when we were in that little freeze thing, I was talking about the fact that the I Say Who I Am books endeavor is to cultivate that positive reinforcement within self from infant all the way to 17. So the series is a 4-book series. Two books are published. They were published in 2023, and the other two books are going to be published this year. So the first two books, volume 1 and volume 2, speaks to infant to 4-year-old, and then 5 to 8. And then the other two that's going to be a part of the entire series is the preteen, the middle passage, because that's their middle-aged passage. And then for the teens, succeeding the 4 seasons. I talk about particular things that they're going through at that age. So my whole endeavor, like I said, from infant all the way to 17, that we have repetitively, consistently allowed them to nurture and grow in knowing that I have self-love for myself, and therefore I have self-love for others, which is the commandment: love others as you love yourself. The reason why people walk around with anger and angst and frustrations and unavailable emotionally and don't know how to really relate to people or connect with people, is because they don't have a self-love of themselves to be able to give that back, because we're always reflecting what's inside of us.
Okay. Now, do you have your books, your two that are available? You have
I
them?
do. I
I want
do.
to take a look at them and see. So I Say Who I Am.
Yep.
Now,
This volume
so
one is volume
they
two.
have different subheads. So you said one is for the youngest age.
This is for the toddlers, for the
Okay.
infant to four.
Okay.
And depending on where they are in the educational spectrum, so 5 years old could have these as well. And then this one is for, K through like third grade, 5 through 8. So this one has more words. So not only are they learning positive words, not only are they learning about self-love with themselves, they're learning colors and activities. The one for the older kids have a lot of activities in the back, and additional thing, coloring, mazes, and a additional thing. And also, who knew I was also a songwriter, and I wrote 2 songs to go with the books to help reinforce the message. So
Okay.
yes.
So how do readers or children access the song?
So great question. So in the back there are QR codes.
Okay. All right.
They just scan the codes,
Okay.
and they get the songs, they get the videos, both songs, they get the videos, they get access to my website, which have various products out there. I actually am doing a special for anyone that see this video. I'm going to have it up for the rest of the month of January, so you can get the bundle special, and the bundle special basically comes with both books, and I actually signed the books as well, and I have wristbands. So you have the wristbands for the adults, you have the
Okay.
wristbands for the juniors, and for the infants. So I didn't leave anybody out.
Okay. All right. So one thing that bothers me when I see parents out with their children sometimes, I hate to hear parents, and I would say cussing at their kids,
Right.
like in anger. I just that's that's not a good way to communicate with your child. And if you do that, then they're going to be cussing at people, and they're going to see that as this is what I do as a parent. I speak in anger with an angry tone, and it doesn't mean that you don't things that your children do don't make you angry, because sometimes they do. But
Mhm.
using that kind of language with your children, it's just inappropriate, and it has long-term consequences.
It does. It does. It does. Helping our kids grow up in today's world is very important, because it sets the foundation for them being happy, caring, and a lasting future for tomorrow. I mean, so we want to demonstrate the best that we can. But to your point, you can't give something that you never had.
And
So
that's true. A lot of them are doing that because that's the way their parents talk to them.
correct. And so that's why I said, let's simplify it. If you're confused about, I'm trying to, emulate what I went through and how I was raised, and you want to change that dynamic, don't make it complicated. There's a lot of resources out there that will teach you. My books endeavor to do that, support you. I'm not trying to, it's not a shade on parents or caregivers. It's just a support. I'm here, and that's why I started. I'm Priscilla Harris. I support all of those amazing individuals that have committed their lives to nurture the next generation. So I'm supporting you. I do want you to know that you're a great parents. Parents are great. And no matter how many mistakes that they may have made in their process because of their upbringing or the things that they've endured, you're still great, because you're still in it. You haven't given up, and you're doing the best. And we have to celebrate that. We celebrate every little step that you take to improve yourself, regardless of the outcome, because the effort makes you have to celebrate the little victories to keep you motivated. So I wanted to share also while I have a chance.
Okay.
Here's my little.
It's a mirror.
Yes, it says I am Priscilla, and it has
Okay.
all kinds of different encouraging words. You're confident, bold, radiant, beautiful, worthy, brilliant, powerful. So, I do have so these two just to let people know, because they're, when you combine these fun ways to get the learning or get the education across, it makes the kids more willing to want to be a part of it and want to really get excited about it. So I try to think of all these really cool ways to incorporate to get the attention, the engagement of the children. But I want to say this one thing. You had mentioned earlier that, and we just talked about it again, that you can't give something that you don't have. Like that self-love or positive talk. You were raised by cussing and all of that. So it's like you don't know anything else. What I will say to you is that majority of the adults that I speak to that purchase my books, they tell me all the time, when are you coming out with one for the adults?
Okay.
Because they tell me I need this as well. But my thought is, and what my hope is, that as they are reading this and teaching their children it, that they get it too.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. They can be empowered by teaching and transferring this information to their children. Well, Priscilla, we're at the end of our time, and we are so excited that you joined us tonight. Thank you for sharing to the next generation in terms of teaching them self-love, self-esteem, and self-worth. And kudos to you as an educator, because you and all the other educators are molding the leaders of tomorrow. So thank you so much for your service. Normally we use that for military people,
Well,
but
I'm military too. I'm
oh,
military too.
military too. Okay. Well, our teachers are in the trenches, so we appreciate you and thank you for being a guest on the show.
Can I shout out my website, or are you gonna put it in the
You can. I'm 2 minutes past my
chat? Okay
time.
then. Okay then. All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting, and I appreciate everything. Bye everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Okay, we try to keep our timing correct for all of our guests so they can have about the same amount of time to talk about their books. So our next guest is Rosey Lee. And someone asked, how did they get Priscilla's book? And Priscilla, I'm going to say this, Priscilla's website is isaywhoiam.com. So we go to isaywhoiam.com and you'll be able to get the book. Or I'm sure they're probably also on Amazon. So normally Rhonda handles that back end stuff for me, and she's not here right now. So I'm having to do double duty. But I want to welcome Rosey Lee to Black Authors Matter TV. And she has a brand new book that just came out last Tuesday called The Gardins of Edin. And it's a play on words, so to speak, because the word garden and Eden are spelled differently. So, Rosey, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. And do you have a copy of your book?
I do.
Okay, The Gardens of Eden. That's what I was telling
Gardens
people.
of Eden.
Gardens
Yes.
has an I and Eden has an I. So
Yes.
I'm going to assume, and I'm going to see if I'm correct, that
Okay.
Gardens is a family name.
That's right. It's about the Garden family that lives in the fictional town of Eden,
Of
Georgia.
Eden. Okay, so it's a town. Eden is a
Yes,
town.
it
So
is.
there was there is an Eden, North Carolina.
Oh, really? And is it spelled the usual way, Eden?
No, it might be spelled Eden. It's a
Okay.
small town
A
with
small
like
town.
it's a like you know how some small towns is one family, an extended
Mhm.
family, and that's basically everybody's cousins. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, my
I understand.
brother-in-law's
So
family
there.
is from there,
Oh,
and
okay.
he a lot of his formative years were there. But I've been seeing your book all over social media.
That makes me happy to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and somebody had one of your box, your book box that with
Promo boxes, yes.
the promo box. So,
Mhm.
so I've been seeing it everywhere. So the word is getting out, and it's a brand new book. So how's it doing so far?
Well, today just makes 1 week, so I don't have any real numbers yet. But for me, the fact that you're telling me that you've been seeing it a lot that's very reassuring. So I am just hoping and praying for the best, and we'll wait and see. But it's all about finding the readers who need this story. It's a heartwarming story. I think it's perfect for this time of year. It follows the Garden family from Christmas to Easter. So it really transition. There's an important scene even around MLK Day. So again, just perfect for this time of year. It's perfect to warm your heart on these cold days.
Okay, now is it a hardcover or paperback?
Paperback, but it's also available as an ebook and audiobook.
Okay.
And it's available everywhere books are sold.
Okay. Now, what made you decide that you wanted your storyline to start at Christmas and end at Easter?
Christmas is my favorite time of year. And is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just imagine this family, so the Garden family owns a multi-million-dollar peanut company. And so they have a fabulous party every year at Christmas. So Edin is a fictional town. It's about 30 minutes or so from Macon, Georgia. So it's a rural area, but the family and their party, everybody knows about it. So people come from far and wide, even from Atlanta, to come to this fantastic party. And so as I was thinking about the book and thinking about the setting, I actually happened to go to a Christmas party. And when I walked up, I said, this is exactly what it looks like. And so that just told me that I was on to something, and I just took it in and ran with it.
Okay, because I don't know if I've ever read, and I'm an avid reader, but I don't know if I've read a book that went from Christmas to Easter.
Oh, really?
I don't recall reading another
Okay.
story like that. So that it differentiates your storyline from others.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this your first novel?
This is my debut. That's right.
Okay, that's what I thought. And who's your publisher?
Waterbrook, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House.
Penguin Random House. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, how difficult was it for you as a debut author to get the attention of the right person at Penguin Random House or your imprint?
Sure. So, it took some time. So my book is a family story. It's a multi-generational story about these four women. But their names are Ruth, Naomi, Mary, and Martha. So if that sounds familiar, it's because, yes, they're biblical names. And my characters, now this story is set in present day, but my characters are loosely inspired by women of the Bible. And so just growing up, but also now in present day, listening to sermons and doing, Bible study and things. I just always, every time I read stories in the Bible, I wonder, well, what happened afterwards? I love stories, particularly stories about people and conflict and just wondering how things work out. And so every time I read these stories, I wonder what happened. And so I made it up, but I put it in the setting of a contemporary Black Southern family. And so, it was written with the intention that people who are Christians who know the story, as well as people who may not be Christian, but who enjoy stories about family, particularly family dramas or heartwarming stories, or stories that have a happy ending, that they would all like it. And so that's important because there's kind of a movement within some Christian fiction houses to do more crossover work. But a lot of people just, I think, were a little bit nervous because it really is a story that can be embraced by the mainstream, as well as Christians. And I think some agents and editors just didn't know how to handle that.
Okay. So is your book, which is your book Christian fiction, women's fiction? How is it
It's both.
categorized?
It's
So are
actually
they, when they're promoting it, they're
Mhm.
using those
They're actually using both. And so the first category is women's fiction. The second one is Christian fiction. And that was an intentional decision, I believe, by the publishing house. Because of course it has Christian themes. Certainly the characters are again loosely inspired by women of the Bible. My characters pray, they go to church. But otherwise it's really just a family story. And so my book really takes cues from other popular books and TV shows that have a faith-based foundation, but that have been embraced by general market readers and people who watch TV.
Okay. All right. Right. So, your town of Edin,
Mhm.
how did you, what made you decide to do a fictional town as opposed to an actual?
Sure. So there is actually a town in Georgia called Edin, Georgia. And so it's a little ways from Savannah. And so because I made up the history of this town, I didn't want to upset anybody in the actual town. So in thinking about the inspiration for this town, for me, it came from wondering what would happen if actual towns in our country that were founded by previously enslaved people were allowed to thrive. So I think about places like Roberts Settlement in Indiana, in Eatonville in Florida. You know, if they were allowed to thrive, and if the people who founded them were allowed to just live their best lives instead of dealing with some of the barriers and challenges that were put in place because they were founded by people of color, I wondered, what would those towns be like? What would their descendants be doing? How successful would they be? And so, again, my book is an exploration of that question.
Okay. So what's your background and what led you to write this book?
Sure. So my alter ego is a physician. And that's important. Well, I say that because Rosey Lee is a pen name. And so I love stories, but also because of what I do, or should I say what my alter ego does in her everyday life. There's a lot of work around health education and really helping people to understand what types of decisions that they should make to live healthier lives. You know, I thought, well, maybe we should be a bit more creative about how we package these stories. And certainly my book isn't the first one to have themes around health. You know, that's not something new, but it's my spin on it.
Okay. Now we have one of our readers says she's reading the book now.
Oh, great.
Janelle Lohman, and she says she loves getting lost in the story. And
Oh, I love that.
well done. So it's good to get some feedback from people who are reading the book. And someone else said a beautiful cover.
Oh,
And
great. Thank you.
oh, Edin, North Carolina. I knew that Bernita Francine, I knew there was an Edin, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So because my brother-in-law's family is from there.
Mm-hmm.
So but you do it with an I, so that makes it different.
I did it with an I, again, just to set it apart from Edin, Georgia.
Now, what kind of medicine, or what's your area of specialty as an alter ego?
My alter ego is an internal medicine and a preventive medicine physician.
Okay. Okay.
So internal medicine is seeing patients one-on-one, but the preventive medicine and public health piece, the way my alter ego does it is around community health consulting. So really helping nonprofit organizations, government entities, philanthropic organizations with health programs, around planning those programs, implementing them, and evaluating them. And so again, a lot of the work is around health education and trying to figure out just how to reach people to meet them where they are. And so for me, it's bigger than just something to write about or something to do for a living. For me, this is just a part of, I call it really more of a calling or a vocation. And so for me, that's why it was, hey, let's think about, again, different ways that we can reach people. People don't want to be preached to. People don't want to be preached to about health. People don't want to be preached to about Bible characters either. But, I feel like really with both ways, if you can tell a good story, maybe people can learn something that they can use in their everyday lives. And so that's what I'm trying to do through this book.
Okay. So that's a departure from your 9 to 5, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of people who are in all kinds of professions, engineering,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of lawyers are writing books.
Mm-hmm.
Some are historians who want to take a crack at fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you find the writing of the book allow you to relax in terms of taking a step away from your profession to think about something different as a story?
Certainly, but in a way. So I can tell you that my alter ego has been told that she writes really good notes about patients, because there's, when you walk in to see a doctor and a doctor asks you, what brings you in today? How long has that on? They're building a story that they write down in the chart for themselves, but also for the next physician who may see you, whether it's one of their partners who may be covering for them, or if you happen to go to the emergency department, that doctor who may see their notes. So that is called the history of present illness. And so I've always been told, you write a really nice one, but also usually really long. But that's because I'm telling a story. I want people to understand what it is that's happening. And so what I can say is through writing this book, I felt kind of similar. You're building up, you're explaining what the problem is, you're telling the details that support it. And by the time the person finishes reading it, they should have some idea of what may be going on, so that they have some clues about in your physical exam. And that's not the exact same thing that readers experience, but I think add up a story, their readers' minds start to wonder and they're thinking, I bet I know what's going to happen next, either this or this. And so for me, it's not the same thing, but it's kind of borrowing from that same skill set.
Okay. So you're already kind of sort of telling stories, but they're actual factual stories on a day-to-day.
Exactly. And when people are in the hospital and they see doctors on rounds, the doctors are telling a story. It's about putting that story together in a way that's succinct so that people understand it. So again, it's not the same thing, but I can tell you that during my alter ego's medical training and her time teaching, she really worked on that storytelling. And I think again, it's kind of been helpful with this novel.
Now, are any of your characters, the 4 main characters, are any of them physicians?
One of them is. Her name is Martha.
Okay.
So there are 4 characters. So I mentioned that already. So you've got Ruth. Ruth runs the family's multi-million-dollar peanut business. So her husband, Bo, I couldn't call him Boaz because, present day, that would be a rather unusual name. But her husband, Bo, has B-E-U, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So her Bo has passed away. With his passing, Ruth has taken over his position as CEO of the family's multi-million-dollar peanut business. Then her younger cousin by marriage is Martha, who's the physician. Martha is not happy at all that Ruth is running the business. And she's also not happy about Ruth's status in the family or in the community at large. So Martha has a sister named Mary. Mary really just wants to run her new restaurant, which focuses on healthy comfort food, healthy and delicious comfort food. So she really specializes in plant-based foods, but that really tastes tasty. But Martha keeps pulling her into the family drama, so Mary's not happy about that. And then Naomi, who is their aunt who raised them after their parents died, she is the peacemaker in the family, and she's really just tired of holding the family together. And so she tells them, you've got to just figure out how to do this. So all the women have secrets that they're dealing with, and they're also having to struggle with truths that they haven't been admitting to themselves.
Okay. Now, did you develop your title, or
I did.
okay, so you presented your book with the title that you
I
have,
did.
and it's
Yes.
a play on words, so that really is memorable, because a lot of times with book titles you
Mm-hmm.
want a title that people will remember, because that's where you get the word of mouth buzz.
That's right. Yeah. And I wondered if the publishing company, or really my editor at the company, would ask that I spell garden and Edin in the traditional way, but she really liked the spelling and the play on words. So she let me keep it. So I was really thrilled about that.
Yeah, because from a marketing standpoint, you kind of have the best of both worlds, because you have the play on words, but you also sort of have a biblical tie-in, or
Mm-hmm.
tie-in to Christian fiction without saying it's Christian fiction.
Exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's always better from a promo branding standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And people will remember, because who can forget the Garden of Eden?
Right. Thank you. I love when people get it. So thank you for getting it.
So it was something you had in your bio that I wanted to ask you about. The second book. So this is part of a series.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm excited to share. So really just with the release of this first book that came out last week, I'm allowed to say now that the series will be called The Gardens of Eden. And book two, we haven't shared that title yet, but book two will come out in spring 2025.
Okay. All right, that's great. Now you're going to have more than two books, or that's
We'll
right
see.
now?
We're
See how they
working
do.
through that. Yeah, we'll see. I've got ideas, but we'll see.
Okay.
And to be transparent, when I wrote The Gardens of Eden, the first book, I didn't have any plans for it to be a series. I thought, I think it's really great that there's some authors who write series. That's not really my thing. I don't have those types of ideas. This is going to be a standalone. But as I worked through the story and saw where it was going, I said, oh my gosh, yeah, we're going to have to do another one, because I think, there's going to be some growth, but there's going to be some more things that happen that I think will be really interesting. And I think, people will really love this family and want to know what happens next with them.
Yeah, that's the thing about when you write fiction. I'm an author too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a variety of books. But I have a series that's a novel. I have
Mm-hmm.
children's books. I have a variety of books, but I do have a 2-book series,
Mm-hmm.
second of which just came out. And what happened when I wrote the first book, I didn't have any plans to have
Really?
a sequel.
Yeah.
But what happens is, when people read the book, if they get into the characters,
Mm-hmm.
like they will with your book, they want to know what happens to them.
What happens next? Yeah.
And they identify with them as real people.
Mm-hmm. And
So
that's one of my favorite parts. And so congratulations to you on your second book in that series coming out. But yeah, they start to feel real.
they
And
do.
yeah, they start to feel real. And so I think that is one of the best compliments that an author can ever get. Because you want your characters to be relatable. You want people to see themselves in them, or people that they know. So I think that's just a fantastic compliment whenever that happens.
Yeah, I agree. So now, when you, as part of your public health work,
Mm-hmm.
as your alter ego as a
My
physician,
alter ego, yes.
it sounds like you're doing most of the work you do is at the grassroots.
Yes, absolutely. So, and it's really, really rewarding in that way. For me, everything is about people. Everything's about people. Everything's about community. And so that's something that I think also comes across in the Gardens of Eden too.
Okay, now one of the readers said, "How long did it take you to write the book?"
That's a great question. So I started thinking about it in about 2008. But really just, so in 2008, it just kind of popped in my head that I wanted to write a book that answers the question of what happened after the stories told in the Bible. But it really just took me some years to kind of think about it and figure out kind of what the story would be about and which characters it would focus on. And so in December of 2019 is when I started planning the book. So we call that plotting. So I did that for a few weeks in December. That spilled over a little bit into January 2020. But I wrote most of the book between January 2020 and the first half of February 2020. One of the great things about working for myself is that I control my own schedule. So I was able to kind of plan my work so that I took advantage of the fact that frequently in January, it can be a little bit slow depending on how I schedule things. So I kind of worked ahead in December and cleared some time for myself in January to try to write as much of that first draft as I could in January, but it spilled over into February, which is still a big undertaking for a debut author, but yeah.
Yeah, so
It
basically
was a lot.
in 60 days you wrote it?
About, I mean, we'll say 60, but it was about a month and a half.
Oh,
Now that first
that's
draft
good.
was rough. It was a very rough first draft. It had lots of holes in it. Some small holes, but probably one or two really big holes. And when I say holes, I mean like there's a whole scene where I knew this is what I was thinking would happen, but I wasn't sure if it would work, if it would fit. So I just wrote like 2 lines in that space and just kept writing the rest of it. And I think that's okay. You know, people sometimes refer to the first draft as that messy first draft, right? And I think especially, first of all, I don't think anyone should put any hard boundaries or on our schedule on themselves. You know, I did that because that was what my work schedule allowed. And I said, hey, let me see what I can do in this month that I've carved out. But of course, I had to still make some allowances and be flexible and spend a bit more time. And so I think, you know, we shouldn't put too much pressure on ourselves. We can set a goal, but also, you know, engage in some self-care and be flexible and reasonable.
That's true because if you write all the time, which we have a lot of people on the show that are, you know, doing 2 books or 3 books a year, then you have more of a routine of writing. And so you kind of, I think if you do that kind of writing, you really have it figured out in terms of the process. But if you don't, then, you know, you have to do what works for you.
Do what works for you, yeah. And I'm a debut author, so I'm not here to say that I have it all figured out. I can tell you what I did. I'm very thankful. There was a lot of prayer that went into my being able to do that, but also a lot of time at a computer, and really just kind of I call it being in my writing cave. I watched some television in the beginning of that, and read some books and things, but largely I was really just kind of hunkered down, as they say, just writing.
So before we go, I'm trying to see. Someone said they're going to get the book, and this
great.
show will circulate. It circulates very well for a good 10 days, and so a lot of people will see it. We have people who watch it live, and then we have another huge audience of people who watch it at their leisure or parts of it, whatever.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed talking with you, and you are fun to talk with. And I love talking to people who get it.
Well, I think when I saw the book and the book cover, I said that my first response in my head was, that is really clever.
Thank you.
So I congratulate you on doing that. That's really, I haven't seen anybody do it exactly like that.
Well, I appreciate that so much.
And good luck with everything that you're doing with this book, getting it out there. It is getting out there. It is.
Thank you.
I saw a lot of it from when it was coming out from the debut day to now. So I'm sure you're going to be seeing even more. And the people that a lot of my people on my Facebook is where I am mostly. They are avid readers, or they're writers, they're authors, they're publishers, they're people in the literary field. So the word of mouth that gets around, it gets around to the right people. Didn't you have like an endorsement statement from somebody, a high profile author? Did you have that?
I did. Are you talking about from KJ Dell'Antonia, who wrote The Chicken Sisters? I had one from her.
Okay.
I have one from Melissa Scholes Young, Robin W. Pearson,
That one.
Patricia Raybon.
Okay,
Yeah.
Robin. That's
Robin, yes. Robin has been very, very good to me. We are always supporting each other on social media, but it's she 3 books in now. Her 3rd book comes out next month. So she's like a author big sister to me. So if you're watching, thank you, Robin.
Well, congratulations, Rosey, and thank you for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone stays warm and stays safe.
Same here, because it's cold in Houston, and if it's cold in Houston, that means it's cold everywhere.
Yes, yes.
So,
take care.
Okay, same to you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to let you know which book we're giving away, but we won't be giving it away until probably the end of this interview coming up. So if you all watched the show, you saw that we had given away the series by Eric LaSalle. He's the actor and author, and he was on the show several weeks ago. And this is the last book in his series. It's called Laws of Annihilation, this book. So I'm not going to give you the trivia question yet. I'll do that at the end of the interview, but I wanted to let you know which book we were giving away. So we gave away the other 2 books in the previous 2 weeks. And so this week we're giving away Laws of Annihilation. The first book was Laws of Depravity, and then the second book was Laws of Wrath. So we're going to be bringing on our next guest. And before we do, my faithful co-host is on. So she made it home, and we're glad that she's joining the show. And so, hi, Rhonda. So I know you're burning the candle at both ends. Make sure you take care of yourself. So
I had to eat some dinner before I logged in. So
I understand. I understand. So we're doing the 3rd interview now. We're bringing the 3rd guest on.
Okay.
And it's Donna Gray Banks. And Donna is the founder and the director, I think that's her title, of the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival it's in Florida. Where is it in Florida? It is in
I like the name, the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival.
Well, it's an acronym, and it stands for Fiction, Romance, Erotica, Spiritual, and Health. And Daytona Beach. And I should have remembered that, because Daytona Beach is where Bethune-Cookman is college, and my niece went there. So yeah, I went to the graduation there. So it's a very nice town. So, and Donna has been very creative, and she has the support of Daytona Beach for her event. So
nice.
So as soon as Donna comes on, and her face and her microphone, we're going to have her talk to us about her event. It's coming up soon. So
there she is.
There she is. We wanted to have Donna on the show before her event so people can know about it if they want to attend, people who are in that area. So Donna, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much.
And I must say, I'm loving the backdrop.
Oh, well, do you want to know the secret to that?
Sure.
It's a room divider.
Oh, okay.
Did you have it painted like that, or did you buy it like that?
So I put 2 together, right?
I like
it.
No, it came like that. It has books on both sides. These are the great works, Dickens and all that. And then the other side is kind of just books everywhere. So yeah, I did it during the pandemic, and it's holding up pretty well. I think I probably need a new one soon, but it's been there since.
I think we all got creative during the pandemic.
Yes, yeah.
in all
Yes.
sorts of ways.
We just really, really had to during the pandemic because
Right.
I think I did my first book festival, one of the first book festivals on the internet during the pandemic, and we thought 6 hours? I don't know how this is going to work, but
Oh,
yeah.
see, you are my kindred sister because see, I do a Black History Month literary weekend, and in 2021, because of the pandemic,
Right.
I did a 6-hour virtual event. Everything that I do over 3 days, I squished it all into 6 hours, and it was awesome.
Oh, I didn't do that. I had it for 2 whole days. I'm gonna go for it, right? And so yeah, we brought in films and we brought in David Simon from the UK. And so we were
Right.
crossing our fingers and we had people behind us, what do you call it? Shared people, just in case my system went down or their system went
Yeah.
down. So we had all these backdrops to make sure that it happened. So yeah. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
we did that 2 years, and we did 2.5 days. And
Yeah.
it was a
But the
total.
whole time you're like, oh, internet, hold
Oh,
on. Didn't
yeah.
work very well. Mine went really well. I think because I
Yeah,
had
ours
those
did
people
too.
in the back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
ours did
holding things
too.
together and
But
putting
we had
information.
more just constant people because what we did
Yeah.
was everybody who would have been physically at the festival got an opportunity to do an interview.
Mhm.
It might have been a
Wow.
short one or a long
Yeah.
one. So,
Yeah.
and then we had seminars on there. It was a lot.
It
So,
was a lot. And I just kept thinking, storm's gonna come through and then we're all out of the internet.
Stop
Uh,
thinking the worst.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't
right. Well, I
forget.
mean, I always want to think, what's the backstop? What's going to happen if this happens? What's going to happen if this happens? And that's
Right.
probably not the way to do things, but it worked out. So that was
But now tell me, since we're talking about events,
Mhm,
how
mhm.
did you come up with the name Fresh?
I, it was universal given. Yeah, I can't take credit for it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Woke up with the acronym, woke up with the words, woke up with the logo. So
Wow.
it was just something that was, supposed to happen when the doors open, when that portal opens and you receive stuff, you just have to take it, and think about what's going to happen to it later. But
So
yeah, so
are you
I
very
can't.
strict then on
Mhm.
those specific genres?
No, that was just to let everybody know that anybody who wants to come can come, right? Because
Mm,
the H can stand for health, happiness,
horror.
wholeness,
Horror.
horror, right? So the H can stand for just about anything. No, so we just want everybody to be able to comment and say whatever they need to say in their books. Yeah, we take everybody, children. We couldn't find a way to put a C in there somewhere, but I think everybody kind of worked it out. We have a lot of children's authors that come every year, but my motivation was your book festival in 2008.
Wow.
A lot of people are inspired by.
And you all were in a hotel at the time,
Okay. Yeah.
which was, you
Yes,
remember that?
we were.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember now because I had to, I
yeah,
created, organized them, do,
yeah,
do the
yeah.
do the legwork,
Well,
do
I'm
the
sure it's kind of different now that you are in the church, right? You're in the church now at this
yeah.
point.
Well, we're in the church's sports facility,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
so it's not in the sanctuary.
No, no, no. Right, 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 right.
But yeah,
But I'm sure it was much easier than the whole hotel thing.
well, I
Sometimes.
tell
Okay.
people if you want to do something in a hotel, people say, why did you have it in a hotel? And my response is, okay, if you write me a check for $50,000, then yes, hotels cost a fortune.
A fortune. My
Mhm.
first one was in a hotel and it was a
It
complete
costs
flop.
a fortune.
We lost all kind of money.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
lose your shirt. You can really literally
yeah,
lose your shirt, and you
yeah,
go
yeah.
bankrupt.
Yeah. I left some mortgage payments at that hotel.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean,
it's a lesson learned.
so when the people say that, why don't you do? I know they've never done
They've never done it.
it. Because if they did, they
Absolutely.
wouldn't say it.
Absolutely.
I like how you said you left a couple mortgage payments.
Hey,
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't let
I'm
you, they're not going to open the door unless the bill
no,
is paid. Right.
no, they don't. They have to be paid.
Right.
If you lose all the money,
They don't care.
they don't care.
Right.
They don't
They
care.
just
They
need
have
their
to
money.
be paid.
Right. And
And
we had it over the MLK weekend, and the
okay.
Black Shriners were there, and the cheerleaders were there, and they walked past those tables like we were selling minutia.
I said they weren't studying y'all. They had their own event going on.
When I tell you,
Yeah.
when I tell you they could care less that we were sitting there with all those books. Oh, it was a, but I will say that the people that were there are still with me, and they hung in there after that disaster. We drank a lot. We drank a lot. So it was nothing. I mean, what else gonna do? You know what I mean?
No,
We're stuck.
that's a
Yeah.
thought. Normally, I'm too exhausted to drink, but afterwards, but
Girl.
but I hear you. I hear you. And here's the other
Yeah.
thing that you said that a lot of people, this they don't get the universe of Black people that read books. I'm not talking about read social media posts or read memes or read TikTok, that read books. That's a small
Yeah.
percentage, probably something like 15% of
Right.
Black. And so you have to get those people to your event, because if you, like you said, you had the people there, but if they're just walking past the table, or sometimes at some events, a lot of people will go to events thinking things are free. They're going
Right.
to, not the book people, but other people. They're going there looking for free stuff. And so the authors, they need to sell their books.
Well, we came up with a concept last year, which I guess, well, when you're universally given it, then you have to take it when you get it, right? So as opposed to having sponsors for things like logos and all that stuff, we have implemented a voucher program. So the sponsors have vouchers with their logos on it, and the vouchers are worth $10. And so the children and the seniors and the students get a voucher until they run out. And those vouchers are given to the authors, and then we reimburse them. So we know at some point you're going to make some money, as opposed to leaving without any money. And that's worked really well, and we're hoping that it works really well this year also. So most of the authors were able to get their registration money.
Right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We do something like that too.
Something.
Yeah. You do something similar? Yeah.
The way we do it is we do it. It's a coupon, but it's the same principle.
Voucher, yeah.
And they get it as a door prize. So if they attend one of our special events, then we have door prizes we give away. And so they're different denominations. It might be $5, $10, or we do one for $25, but they're mostly $5.
Yeah.
So they use those to buy books, and then the authors turn them in at the end and we give them the cash.
Right. So that's some reciprocity, right? In case because everybody's not going to make money. But I tell everybody, don't come to the book festival. When I came to your book festival, I wasn't even there to make money. I was there to meet as many people as I could. And Greg Burton, I don't even know if you remember him. We were back in an erotic section in a corner in the dark.
It wasn't dark.
It wasn't that big.
I remember that one because that was the one where we didn't have enough room. We had a big room, like a big ballroom, and then we had like a spillover room, sort of. And
we were on the spillover.
Yeah, I remember that year.
But no, it was my intention was not to sell a book. My intention was to get to know as many people as I could while I was there, to get to know the business, right? And I think a lot of people come to these book festivals like they're going to sell, 50 And you might. I'm not saying you can't, but on an average, you might sell 20, 25. And I think that should be the goal that you look at, and not to, you want to make money, certainly, but you want that knowledge that's in the room because there's so much,
Right.
and make sure you talk to like everybody. Leave your card with everybody. Make sure that you offer them something as well as them offering you something, right? Don't just take it, but try to give a little too while you're out there, making your pitch. And that has been, from the filmmakers that we bring in. Travis Hunter was there one year, and just so many others. I can't even think because I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but and they were instrumental in just giving people. So Booker T. Madison was there 3 years in a row. He's amazing. Now I can't only call him up, I can't afford it. So I mean, it's okay because he has kind of catapulted to a degree that I can't, push him back anymore. But let me tell you, while he was at the level, he was so giving, and just gave his knowledge to everybody. Keith Kareem Williams has been with us for 6 years. I love that young man. He is just has an amazing story. I mean, he writes all about everything else except the fact that through it all, he remained an author and raised two of the most amazing children by himself. That, to me, that's the story, right? But he doesn't know about that. Sandenise Myers is there this year. She was Heavy D's niece. So she's been in the industry. She's done video and full-length movies. And so Emery Riddle was the sponsor. And that was it. That was the key. So once I got over losing, my house and my car from the hotel, I decided, well, maybe I should do some collaboration with somebody, right? Because no man is an island. And I ran across one of the commissioners who, in the city of Daytona Beach, Commissioner Paula R. Reed. Thank you so much. I cannot even tell you what that means to me. Who has been sponsor from the beginning, and fought for funding, fought for location, fought for staffing. And this year, no, not this year, last year, our tagline is literacy is a legacy. And for the first time, the city of Daytona Beach brought in 40,000 books.
Wonderful.
Giveaway, right? I mean, it took 13 years, right? But still, when you see that,
stuck with it, yes.
right? When you see that, and when the mayor and the group from Tallahassee said they were coming in and they had 40,000 books, I said, oh, this is, okay, God, you're gonna have to work this out. So went through neighborhoods, everybody went through neighborhoods, bring your children, make sure that we make a statement that literacy is a legacy in the city of Daytona Beach, and we're gonna leave it that way. We want it to be there. We want to strive for it. And when I got there at 9 o'clock, the line was around the corner and I stood and cried. The doors hadn't even opened yet. Right. So that's how that progression has happened, right? That people are actually, if the adults aren't reading to the children are reading to the adults. And I don't care how that works as long as it does. So I can't say enough about the city of Daytona Beach when it comes to literacy and the thinking that their residents have to be, must be, should be literate. If nothing else, you should be able to read your way through life and not struggle. Yeah. So,
well, one important thing that you touched on is that even though it took 13 years, the city of Daytona Beach came through for you. Sometimes you need to see that you're not a fly by night, that you're actually here for them. And when they see that, and they see that you have what we call stick-to-itiveness,
right,
they are more apt to support you. So I congratulate you for continuing to keep it going.
Thank you.
I mean, I know what it's like to feel like you've lost everything after an event, and everybody's telling you how great the event was, but you're like, I don't feel like it was great. My pockets aren't telling me it was great.
I'm sleeping in my garage because I can't go in the house. But yeah, I think that people don't really understand. And you guys are 20 years, right?
No, 17.
Okay, close.
Yeah.
So I, and I think Curtis is 20, maybe knocking on 20. And yeah, he's close to 20. Yeah.
The one in Vanessa in Philadelphia that does the children's one.
Right.
He's at 32 years.
Right. So I take my hat off to all of us because I didn't have this much gray hair at 13. A lot more now than it was then, right? A lot of lessons learned. It started out in January, and because in the city of Daytona Beach, I don't know what it's like where Houston, right? Is that correct? You have to be very careful when you give an event because we have NASCAR, we have Bike Week, we have Spring Break, we have the Zora Neale Hurston Festival, then you have MLK, then you have the Super Bowl. January and February done. So we were keeping it at the second week in January, and everybody kept saying, Donna, it's just not, you need to move it. You need to move it. And I kept saying, I'm keeping it there because the rates of the hotel are cheaper. Why? Because nobody's doing anything. Right? So, the rates of the hotel are cheaper. The venues are cheaper. Things are just cheaper the second week in January. And they said, well, it's cheaper, but ain't nobody coming. So
plus it's too close to Christmas.
Plus it's too close to Christmas. So finally we kind of, roped our way around and found our niche, which is the last week in February. It's after Super Bowl. It's after NASCAR. It's before Bike Week, and it's before Spring Break. So I think we have found our niche.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, the sweet spot. Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of February. Embry-Riddle has been our film sponsor for the last 5 years, which is amazing. They're an aeronautical university, but they believe in what we're doing, and we thank them. And of course, the city of Daytona Beach. And this year, we have the Halifax Historical Society, who is going to have Victoria Christopher Murray there doing her new book with Mary McLeod Bethune. And, what a better place for her to be there. And so now we're kind of tentacled all around the city, and then we all converge back into the community center for 2 days. So it's, yeah.
So is your event a week long?
It's 3 days. It feels like a week.
The 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Those are the same days as my Black History Month event. So I guess I won't.
Well, I mean, listen, it's the day. You picking a day is really extremely hard, and if you do it in the summer, all the kids are out of school, so forget that.
No. You have a great time frame. Right. I just wish I can come.
Yeah, I know. I wish you could come, right? But we can Zoom. Listen, we can Zoom you in. Just give me a time when you want to come and talk.
You don't have to say but a word. I'll do it.
Yeah. We'll Zoom you in if you want to just come and talk about your festival and things about publishing and how that publishing part is. Yeah. It's really, it really, even today, it is, I think, a challenge for melanated people. In many, many ways, financially and otherwise, right? And I think that, and I don't want to go in a soapbox about it, but we have to understand that everything that's written is not literary. Everything that's not written is not literary. So we need to take the time to make sure that what we write is literate and that people understand it, and you have to pay money for that. I don't write perfect, so I have to have an editor.
Well, everybody has to have it.
I have to have an editor. Right.
Every author has to have an editor.
Yeah, we have blind spots.
I'm really good at English and words, but
Right.
I need an editor
You need an
because
editor.
when you look at your work, you look over things, you miss things. And if
Over
you're
stuff.
a perfectionist like I
Mm-hmm.
am, when you want to put out a perfect product or as close to perfection as you can get, and you're self-published, then
Yeah.
it's even more imperative because some people, they don't like self-published books because of what you just said.
Right.
Mm.
But no, I don't blame it. I'll say that some publishers are more apt to publish melanated books that are functionally illiterate than any others, right? That the first page, that nobody looked at this, nobody edited this book. They just took that person's money, they put it together, and they put it out. And I think that's a disservice to us.
Yeah,
It's a
Right?
disgrace, really. And then some of them, they're just scamming. It's just they're being shysty because even even the size of the book, the dimensions of the book are not standard. So
Right.
to give somebody a book that's really more like uh one of those college, like a college workbook, like an 8.5 by 11 or bigger than that. That's not a book is not that size.
That happened to an author once, and she was so upset. She didn't realize the book would come out like that.
Oh.
Yeah, because it shouldn't.
And you pay more for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you do. But
Yeah, you
some
pay more.
people they take advantage of people not knowing things. So, in the time that we have left, Donna, tell
Okay.
people
That's great.
again about the event,
Okay.
what are the dates and the location.
Yeah, and then what
Okay.
goes on? I know because I know it's not just a bunch of authors sitting at
Oh
tables at a
no.
books. There's so much more to it. So let us know
Yeah.
what happens at the event.
Well, we have workshops all day. And one of the newer ones this year is a vision board workshop, which is literacy. I had to be convinced that we should do that, but I'm convinced now that some people need to see it. I write it, you write it, but some people need to see it. So we're going to have a vision board workshop. We have a workshop on publishing. We have a workshop on filmmaking. We have a workshop on hurt people hurt people. So
Mm.
people who write books who want to talk about their trauma. We're going to have a workshop on that. Each author gets a 7-minute interview on tape to use on their social media, do whatever they want to. We Zoom in people from the UK, like I said, Dr. Simon from the National Black Book Festival. We we talk all day, I mean, for sure. We have the Palm Terrace Elementary comes and reenacts a book every year. They're doing Teresa Dyer's book. Where is it? Oh, Being Yourself. It's about self-confidence, and they're going to do that. They bring the drum line, they bring the chorus, and so that's a real community event. And we have poetry on Saturday night to end the festival, and a saxophone player and dinner. And it's casual, comfortable, nice, casual all weekend. We really don't get dressed up and do a banquet or anything like that. We just kind of sell books and try to be literate all weekend. And it's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of February in the beautiful city of Daytona Beach. And if you need to reach out, my email address is freshbookfestivals with an S at gmail.com.
Well, we did
Yeah.
put your website in the chat,
Okay. Okay.
so people can click on the link and learn more about your event. And it's
Thank
in
you.
Daytona Beach, correct?
Daytona Beach.
Yeah, and finally, I wanted to ask about
So
Bethune-Cookman.
Dr. Lawson and Gwen, will you come together via internet? Zoom? Maybe?
Well, it's during Rhonda's event.
So
But
you have to give me a time, Rhonda. Maybe 15 minutes. That's all we need.
Well, I might be able to make that happen, but now if you want Gwen and I to do it together, we'd have
No,
to
no,
get.
no. It doesn't. I mean, however you want to do it.
Oh,
Just
okay.
let me know.
Okay.
We'll,
Let,
we'll
let
find
me let me
we'll
look
find
at your
15
schedule
minutes
and
to
see what
bring you
you have.
in
Let me see
Zoom
what you
you
got
in.
going on. I might be able to squeeze 15 minutes or so in.
Yeah.
I would love to support you.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'm game. I would just have to look at my schedule.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can Zoom you in Friday or Saturday,
Okay.
between 12 and 5.
Okay.
Come
All
join
right.
us. Yeah.
Well, DM me on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
What we've been doing, and so glad to have you on the show.
Okay, well, now it's your turn to be on my show. I'm just saying.
Okay, I know you did ask me, but you asked me.
Yeah, but that was right before your
So
event.
it was
That was
right
not,
before the
that was
festival.
wrong.
And I was, what's so
It
wrong?
was really wrong of me. I was like, oh, Donna, why'd
I
you
was
do that?
up to here. I was like, I don't think I can
I
do
apologize for that because and when you said it, I was like, oh, snap, I shouldn't have done that. So
it.
now that it's over, we'll
You're
kind
right.
of try to get you in like mid-February, talk about some that's
Okay.
coming up in Black History
Okay.
and your event, right?
Yes, the Black History Month Literary Weekend.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. So thank
Okay.
you, ladies, very, very much. I appreciate your time, and
All right, Donna.
we'll see each other again really, really soon.
Absolutely. It went by so fast.
I know
I know it was about
gonna be great. I know
Yeah.
you're gonna be great.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
okay. You're welcome.
And keep doing what you're doing. I try to watch every time I can.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Do you get rid of me or I get rid of myself?
You get rid of me. Or you can do it, but we'll do it if you don't. Okay. All right. We support other events, other other publishers, our bookstores from all over. We support anybody in this space because there's plenty of room for everybody. And all these different events that go on in different parts of the country, everybody's not going to go to every event. Most people are going to stick close to home. So we want people to know what's going on where they are. And that's why we have different events on the show. Now, Rhonda, I didn't play your video at the beginning because you weren't on. So we're going to be playing it at the end.
Okay.
We go off the air.
No problem.
So our media manager has already been prompted to do that. So we're going to do that. And so our final guest, we've been having bookstores lately. We've had them from day one. We've always had bookstores, but we've had some the last month, a couple of months, we've had several. So tonight we have a bookstore that's in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, Tacoma.
All the way on the other side of the United States. And
of the world. I'm kidding. I used to live in Tacoma.
Oh, you did? I knew you lived in Washington. I didn't know what city.
I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington back in the day.
Oh, okay. So we have tonight the owner or one of the owners, LaKecia Farmer, and the bookstore is called Parable, like the parables of the Bible bookstore, and she's from Tacoma, Washington, and we welcome LaKecia to Black Authors Matter TV.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
Now, how many Black people are in Tacoma, Washington?
Oh man. I mean, Dr. Lawson might know more than I do, but we have quite a few people, Black folks here. We're probably one of the blackest, brownest cities in the state. So,
Oh, really? More so than Seattle?
yeah, a lot of people are moving from Seattle and to outer King County, Tacoma. So, yeah.
Okay. And where did the name Parable come from in terms of naming a store? When you name your store, there's all kinds of motivations behind
Right.
what the name is going to be. And so, Parable, where did that emanate from?
Yeah, the simplest answer is from in honoring the late and great Octavia E. Butler, who wrote Parable of the Sower, Parable of the Talents. The long answer is that we started Parable during the pandemic. We started Parable during racial uprisings. And we saw a lot of um, harm coming towards Black and brown folks, coming towards folks of other identities that just, it just was awful. And, as marginalized folks, you know, um, the pandemic only increased death rates, the racial uprisings, we had a backlash to that. So it was just, to me, it was kind of relevant and to make sure that we named our store after something that created a sense of hope and community um, for folks who are often left out of the picture. And even as dark as I don't know if y'all have read Parable of the Sower, Parable of the Talents, but from Octavia E. Butler, but sometimes it gets a little dark. But in the core of it is about this Earth Seed community, and so we actually have a little section, the kids section called Earth Seed, and that's what it is about: is building community, building alternative spaces, and so yeah, that's kind of where the name comes from.
Okay.
Wow. So you put a lot of thought into that name. That just wasn't something you pulled out of the thin air and said,
Yeah.
let's name it that.
Right.
Yeah,
I like
I think one of them, or both of them, but it's been a long time ago, and I'm an avid
Yeah.
reader, so I can't remember. All I know is I've never read a book by Octavia Butler that I didn't really, really, really like love.
She's an amazing writer.
She was an amazing writer, and so but I thought the parable was just an interesting name, and you never know where names come from until you talk to the people who developed them. So are there multiple owners? Are you the sole owner, or who
Yeah.
owns? Is it family owned? Is it owned by
Yeah, it's family owned for sure. So on the technical side, it's me, my cousin, and my twin sister who own Parable. But it's also family run. We also have my older sister who's there, my partner. So yeah, we're family owned, family run business, and it has its trials and tribulations, but it also has its wonderful beauty to being a family-owned business.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, is now some people say they don't want to work with family because it can be challenging, but it seems like you guys have made it work. Everybody has their own specific responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. So my cousin Dee Dee, she was the designer. She is a designer still, but she designed the whole space and make sure that when people come in, you feel welcome. She has over 20 years of customer service experience. So that
Nice.
whole concept of people coming in, people feeling like they're a part of the community, that was her, and that still continues to be her. My twin is an artist, so we're more than a bookstore. We also sell art and handmade products, and so that's kind of how we get a lot of artists into our building. I love books, so you got the right person. I curate the books and bookseller. And so yeah, we just really have our lanes. We have our ways of doing things. Sometimes, family family can be hard, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. Like my older sister, she went in and it's like, hey, like I wanna be a part of this too, and is one of our strongest folks, who most reliable folks. So it's just awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And I love the fact that you guys are the type of bookstore where if I walked in and said, I'm looking for a certain type of book, I'd like maybe a horror book, or I'd like a self-help book, you know exactly where to point me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny, we started out selling at markets, and we sold our personal, like we also sell plants. So my sister knew a lot about the plant world, sometimes even propagated some, while I sold some of my own inventory, and then we made them all pretty with Dee Dee's help. And but yeah, when it came to books, I was like, this is my own collection. Like, and now I have this whole, it's like, I call it my, kind of library, because I get to read the books and I get to vet them, because we're curated space, right? And so, even if I didn't read the book, I know exactly where it's coming from, you know? And I know exactly what people have said about it, that it might actually be a pretty good book. So we have a lot of Black authors, Indigenous authors, but we're really we're really focused on like making it a good experience for folks.
That's wonderful. That
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, the thing about a family business, it can be challenging because well, my husband and I worked together our whole marriage. He retired though, 7 years ago. But when we had our brick and mortar store, any business we've had, when we had the store, and then once we transitioned to doing more marketing, but we always worked together, but we had different skill sets. That's one of the important things about family, because you're not butting heads. You're not like, okay, there's no push pull. He was on the tech side. I don't want to know. I didn't want to be on that side. I don't want to know about it. So, and I did, marketing administration. He didn't want to know about that. So, and then we got the kids involved, because I believe in here's my position. This business is feeding the family. You need to work. They got paid, but it wasn't like an option. It wasn't like we didn't give them a choice. We told them, you're going to be working. This is what you're going to be doing. And you get paid. That's, so, and I had experience with that, because me growing up, my dad was a pastor, but the church had a lot of different things going on. It had a daycare, it had home for the aged. So we all worked for our parents. So I grew up seeing that. We didn't have a choice. So, but we learned, one, how to manage things, the value of a dollar, putting money, not spending everything you have. So it's a lot of lessons that you can teach, children when they grow up seeing a business. And then the money
Right.
stays in the family. So instead of giving them an allowance, they get paid for the work they're doing. It's more
Yeah.
meaningful. So,
Yeah, we hope we have all of us have kids, so we hope
okay.
one day. I mean, my mom is an entrepreneur too. She has her own hairstyling business, and so we grew up in that business, and that's what inspired us to start our own, is that like growing up and seeing what your parents are doing, seeing what your family members are doing, it's inspiring, right? And so hopefully we can inspire our own kids and nephews and nieces.
Yeah, and you can start them really young. They don't have to be employees to be working in the business. You can start off with small tasks that they can do. You give them $20 or whatever. When they can be 10, 11 years old, you start them off knowing the value of work and connecting work to money is very important. Instead of them thinking they can just ask you for money and like money grows on trees. No, it doesn't. And they really learn that work and money are connected together. So
Yeah.
what's your books that you curate, what are your more popular genres?
Well, because we are named after Parable and Octavia Butler, we do draw in quite a lot of folks who are a part of that genre, and that who like that genre. And so like speculative fiction, science fiction, but like from Afrofuturist perspective, that is kind of like the a big draw. Another draw is around social justice, around nonfiction. We have a lot of folks who are interested in that. And then kids' books, we have a lot of man, we cannot keep more books about Black and brown people on our shelves. I mean, it makes sense because, like sometimes when you go into a bookstore, it doesn't always reflect the kids, right? But yeah, it's awesome that that happens. So yeah, those are kind of our top categories. We also have um uh yeah, I guess it sometimes it is also about the authors. So we have a lot of authors of color, LGBT authors, women authors, and so I think it draws people into our store.
So you have a lot of book. Are you when you say the authors, you mean like author events, like book signings or book chats?
Yeah, I think our biggest event, it was during COVID, so it wasn't in our physical space, but Ijeoma Olowu, who wrote let's see, she wrote a couple mediocre, she wrote um how to talk about race, I think, or something like that. But it's yeah, we have quite a few. We have a event even in the next couple weeks with a multiracial author who wrote a book called What Did My Ancestors Eat?
Oh,
And so yeah, it's just
yeah,
it's
recently, like today, I think.
what's that?
I saw that book on social media today.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So we're
Because I
yeah,
thought it
we
was
have
an
a lot of
interesting title. It's like, wow, I wonder what they're going to talk about. That's when I saw it. So I just saw it today.
yeah, they're gonna have at our store they'll have like crafts for kids on like and they get to decide and talk about what and what their ancestors ate and how they're gonna talk about it. It's like an art project. So yeah, it definitely draws people in for sure.
Well, now, how can an author, and we always ask this question of bookstores when they
Mhm.
come on the show, well, how can an author get their books into your store, or how can they register to have an event at your location?
Yeah, so we make it fairly easy. We um so how the first question is how we can how folks can get their books into our store. We often go through publishers, and if you're self-published, um we'll do wholesale. Um, so we don't do commissions. We appreciate artists' work and um want to give them what they're worth as much as possible without breaking bank or without yeah, breaking their bank. So that's kind of one way to do it. And that's been actually pretty successful, especially with we have a lot of authors who write kids books and like I said, they fly off the shelf, so it's a benefit to us and it's a benefit to the authors too. And then how they can get into our store as a speaker. Um, they, just reach out to us over email and we're generally pretty good to work with when it comes to, logistics and um, fees and all that. We don't charge folks generally for unless it's a very, very large event for speaking. Um, we don't sometimes we take a portion of book sales, but not often. So we're more of a community run store. We're more of a community centered store. We're family run but community centered in that if since we ourselves like my sister are an artist, we know that there can be difficulties in getting your name out and selling your product. And so we make it as easy as possible for the artists and authors, um, but just making sure we keep the lights on. So yeah, I guess that's the long way of saying, yeah, if people just reach out to us, that is how you can get into our store, and it's fairly painless process.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is your what is your plan for the coming year and like the next couple of years? What do you hope to do with the store?
Yeah, we also do a lot of events. So um we're we're trying to lean into our values of um being community oriented. So we do a lot of events, we do a lot of partnerships. We partner with both the county and city libraries. We um yeah, we just whatever the community needs, we're usually there. Um and so for the next couple of years, um we're looking into how what it actually means to be community owned and run. And, we as family run business love um, what Parable has become, but we want to really focus on the community, right? And that's the BIPOC community and so on and so forth. And um, that can look like various different models, like shared governance. It could be um, uh, kind of like, yeah, it's a lot of models that we're looking into right now, to just make sure that community has their input and their say in making this a true space for everybody. So that's kind of what we're going to be leaning into for this year.
Okay.
That
So,
sounds like you have plans.
What's
mhm.
that?
Said it sounds like you have a lot of plans.
I know, yeah. That we've been in business for 3 years, but man, it feels like it's been like 6 months because I'm like, I just want to do more and more and more.
Which days are you open?
So right now we're only open on the weekends and evenings for events. We have people who rent out the space during the week. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of what our hours are right now. We always kind of like open it up either during the winter or summer for more hours. But we all have our own full-time jobs and kids, and so we have an event right now where someone's at. So we're more than just the weekends, but that is like our regular open hours.
Well, that's when the most traffic comes in anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. That we opened and we're open most of the week when we started out, and we just found that most people want to come on the weekends or evenings or at events. So we just went where the people are, and that's kind of how our motto is.
I like it. Now, would you say, because I do not remember a Black bookstore in Tacoma when I was living there once upon a time. Um, was there a Black bookstore prior to you?
Not in Tacoma. There was
I didn't
Limbs in
think so.
Seattle, and then there was Estelitas in Seattle, which we kind of um started around the same time. They were a library before.
Mhm.
Um, and and then there's one more Loving Room Books that opened just a year ago in Seattle. But as you can see, there's a theme here. They're all in Seattle. We love them, but we needed something in our own
Yeah, we
neighborhood.
don't
So
always feel like driving all the way to Seattle. We
exactly,
do things right in Tacoma where we live.
exactly.
Well,
Well, LaKecia, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV, and congratulations on the success of Parable Bookstore. And I love the name. It's it has many meanings, and
Yes, absolutely.
um, that's good. It's what's in a name, and
What's in a name?
it's interesting to hear just how people name stores, especially bookstores,
Yeah.
because they run the gamut.
Well, and the thing about parable, you're saying it's like a lot of meanings because it's storytelling, right? That's
Yeah.
right.
parable is a story, right? And so I love telling the story of parable.
Okay, well, you have a great evening. I know you are
Thank
two
you.
hours behind where I am. So so
Yeah.
here it's almost 9 and there's almost 7.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's late night, y'all.
Okay.
Well, it's almost 10
Thank
o'clock here.
Yeah, where she is. She's
Woo.
on the East Coast.
Uh-uh.
So we got the whole nation represented. So anyway,
All
have a
right.
great
Bye.
evening. Okay.
Thank you.
We wanted to one, I wanted to do the trivia for the book, Laws of Annihilation.
Oh,
And
you
then
haven't done it yet. Okay.
Rhonda is going to talk about her event in the last 4 minutes or so, and we're going to show the video also before we sign off. So for the book, the trivia is the storyline in the book features tensions between two New York City communities. What are the two communities that have tension? So if you get the answers, two communities in this book that are highlighted that are tensions. So Rhonda, tell us about your weekend, your Black History Literary Weekend that's coming up. And then we're going to show your video, but right before we sign off.
All right, y'all. The Black History Month Literary Weekend. I cannot wait. It's going to be February 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be here in the DMV. And it's not just one big event, but it's actually a series of events. So on Thursday, February 22nd, we'll be having coffee with an author at PJ's Coffee House in Bowie, Maryland. And then on Friday, we're going to visit some local schools in the area. We always do that where we talk to the authors about the art of writing and just how writing can be a part of their future and so forth. And then after that, we're going to have a book chat and sign at Barnes and Noble. And I was talking with two of the authors last night in the Horizons Author Lounge, and they really loved that because for many of them, it was the first time that they were actually able to leave a major bookstore like Barnes and Noble and actually leave with a check. So they were really excited about that. So that happens on Friday the 23rd. And on Friday the 24th is our main event. It's the Ivory and Cream Affair. So we ask everybody to wear their nicest ivory or cream outfit, and you're going to come out, and I'll tell you, the event is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to have a buffet lunch, but there's also a VIP option where you can be served instead of the buffet. And we'll have a fashion show. We're going to have a host who his name is Nerd the Poet, really well-known poet and comedian here in the DMV area. We're going to have special guests, Tiffany Warren and Marita Golden, both of them very well known, not just in the DMV area, but actually all over the country. Best-selling books. Marita's a really well-known book coach, and so she'll be talking a bit about that. And then we're going to be featuring 10 authors from different parts of the country. And one of our sponsors is She Publishing, believe it or not. She is getting all over the place. So I'm really excited for her to come. A lot of the authors are returning authors. They came last year and they said, hey, we're coming back. We loved it. We had a great time and we're coming back. So we have some returning authors and we have some new authors. So everything is free, actually. The Coffee with an Author and the Barnes and Noble events are free. However, the Ivory and Cream Affair, it is a premium ticket, but I'm telling you, like I said, you're going to have an amazing time from the brunch to the fashion show to meeting the authors to the silent auction. And if you have an 8th or a 9th grader, we're also doing an 8th and 9th grade essay contest, and the winners will read their essays at the Ivory and Cream Affair, and they will receive a cash prize for their essay. So a lot going on. Like I said, it's an amazing event. If you are in the DMV area or you are close to the DMV area, you absolutely want to make it out to this event. And the Barnes in Bowie, Maryland, at the Bowie Town Center.
Okay, Robert's going to show the video now, and right before we sign off. So let's look at the video about the event. That was a great video. Well, that's it for this week. I think the book was won by Stephanie Burnham. I did look at the answers. We will see you
I
all.
think she answered right before the video started.
She did. She broke it into 2 parts. So we will see you next Tuesday on Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off for tonight.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.